An iced tea launch with a cool breeze. Wind coming in, so we coast like a sea breeze. Not enough, so I crash like a PC. Living under the radar, design and photo clicks. Step inside the spotlight, you can't escape it. Should've been a producer, didn't wanna be famous. Coming at me with all this negativity, it's affecting you largely. To me, it's just small and minuscule.
In my teenage years, I kind of needed an identity. My father had just left. I needed to kind of reflect on that a lot, and I started writing a lot of rhymes at home, listening to a lot of hip-hop music, and hip-hop became a way to express myself. Despite like my dad leaving and things like that, when I really got like strongly into hip-hop and started getting really into writing more is when I was in school, because my professor would talk a lot during the lectures, and I zone out pretty quickly. I would write rhymes in class. So a lot of my earlier rhymes, there's a lot of psychology and things in them.
I'm pawning old news in a large garage sale.
I always found with hip-hop music I can express myself more than other types of music, just because, again, I'm not a singer, so I can put so much into my thought and my writing. Primarily, I started out as an MC writing, sitting on the bus and writing some rhymes. When you start with a sample, you're not starting from scratch. You're working with someone else's passion, soul, and heart, and you're able to chop up their music to make your own music. So I think samples for me are fresher than synthesizers. The really tough thing though is I got really into beat making, and I found that the more I got into beat making, the less I was writing. So I kind of got stuck in a rut. I'm always keeping old music around just because now I'm at a different point in making music than I was 5 years ago, so I can do different things with the music.
Listen, I know I make this hip hop. Listen, but it's a full-time job. Listen.
The track is called Afternoon. And it's a track I'm kind of fond of because I've been spending a lot of time, my friend and her son, and I had him read some child book stories and sampled his voice while he was reading. And then I rearranged his voice into the track that my buddy Empire made for me like 3 or 4 years ago. So it's a track with me and a 6-year-old going back and forth, and I'm talking about my life now as an artist, and he's asking, he's just reading the story, but it sounds like he's asking questions or singing along in the track.
It's my mattress with insomnia at its practice. I was thinking about the people that neglected on my dreams. Tell them my
Cornflakes I wrote when I was around 18. I had just moved out about 6 months ago into an apartment, and I was living on my own, struggling with keeping roommates around. I'd gone through a couple of roommates at this point, and I was staring at a box of cornflakes on the fridge, and I was really kind of thinking, man, people are really flaky.
all you're thinking is that it's straight. I ain't breathing, I'm just
I feel like hip-hop gets a bad rap, no pun intended, but there's a lot of bad hip-hop music out there, a lot of dishonest music, and that's kind of my struggle with hip-hop too, because I've gone to school, and I've got my bachelor's and my master's, and as I get higher in my profession, I find that every time I tell people I'm making hip-hop music, I feel like there's this stigma, like why are you still making hip-hop music, just grow up. And I'm making hip-hop music because I love doing it. I'm always thinking about who's listening, because you never know who's listening. I gave my CDs to a couple teachers I was working with, and they got back to me and they're like, oh, my 11-year-old, he loves your music, he listens to it all the time. And I'm like, oh, an 11-year-old likes my music? This was written for, I thought, like an older generation maybe, and now I'm thinking of younger people with some of my music, and so I have to be careful or just mindful of what I'm writing sometimes.
MPC still on my lap, marching on a good vibe, run a hot on serotonin, get those big plans rolling, meeting at the...
It's probably my favorite song out of all the songs I've made, not because of the song itself, but because of the story behind it.
Got a fortune from the Chinese. Things have a way of working themselves out when you're doing what you love to be true. You still calling friends that
when I made Hip Hop is Breathing, I was 21 or 22, and I was at a point where I was really struggling to write. I was kind of stuck in a rut. I was finishing up school at that point, and I couldn't think of new things to write at. I had been a waiter for a few years. I was stuck in a stagnant spot, and so I decided to call up buddies of mine that had left, that I used to work with in music. I had a buddy living in Colorado, a buddy living in Chicago, and an artist I had worked with in Anaheim. I made an Amtrak trip to check out all 3 of those spots and just ride the train and just get inspired. So I started writing about hip hop music and what it meant to me on the train. I made the beat for it on the MPC, took it with me on the train, slept on a table on the train, and was just immersed in hip hop music. I got to Anaheim, collaborated with Poet, slept in his studio, recorded my verse, and then Poet wrote and recorded his verse. Then I went down to Colorado, but on the way to Colorado, you know, when I think back on this track, I lost all my gear because I left it on the train and I forgot to switch my clock back for the time zones. So the beat I just made was I was stuck in New Mexico and all my music gear was leaving the train, and I really panicked. And I got it back, nice guy, worked with the guy on Greyhound and got my music back over, and got to Colorado, started working with Empire, asked him to write a verse to the track. He did his own fresh take on it, and then he recorded it. And I have this vivid picture, not to diss my buddy Empire, but he had this funny haircut where it was like a bun ponytail. I don't know what was going on, but I have this visual of his like Martian bun ponytail, and he's like carrying this microphone, and it's not even set up properly, but he's holding the mic, you know, like so steady not to shake it, because that's all he has, and he did a fresh take on the mic. And then the last stage of the music is going down Chicago, and I have this vivid memory of Flea. Is he didn't have any recording equipment, and I didn't bring any recording equipment with me because I just assumed everyone had him. So I had to get on the phone with Sweetwater and order an H4n mic and get it shipped over to where I was staying with Flea in Chicago. And I have this visual of him recording in a pantry closet. You know, he took out all his food and just stuffed the mic in the pantry closet. And it's a song I'm really proud of, not for the song itself, but the process of making the song and the story behind it. I want to continue to keep making music that's authentic and that I enjoy and that reflects the person I am. My music has changed over the years because I've changed over the years. You know, you can look at music so many different ways and relate to it so many different ways that I just hope people can identify with the music. I always want to be finding new careers, new jobs, things I've never done, because anytime I get into a new environment, I'm writing about something new, and that's where I get my passion to write, is just by living and living the way I want to live. Sometimes the best tracks are just honest and open, and when you can just write and it's not hard because you're just speaking truth. And that's where I want to be as an artist, is just filling up composition books again and just enjoying reflecting and having thoughts and journaling. Hip hop is, to me, is journaling and just a constant reflection.
These G.I. Joes, I'm sorta all ages like the Cosby Show.
Listen.
I know I make this hip hop.
Listen.
Minor league, Portland Winterhawk.
Listen.
Let me get it in your earlobe.